Hi, everybody. So, this installation of the Sergeant at Arms is a special impeachment edition. And it's because I haven't said anything about it. I wanted to wait and see how it played out because I didn't feel like I wanted to weigh in every day, every week with every little thing that happens. And that's generally how I do the Sergeant at Arms platforms anyway. But now that it's over, it's kind of 2020. And so hindsight is always 2020, ironically. And so the 2020 part of this is everybody tended to be in agreement that he did something wrong. The Democrats were willing to punish him for that. The Republicans were not willing to punish him for that. And so let's back up to the Republicans who actually said something about it, and that's Lamar Alexander from Tennessee. He was probably the most outspoken person. I mean, he point blank said, yes, I think what he did was wrong, but I don't think it rises to the level of impeachment. So let's go ahead and say that that was a measured answer, but it doesn't absolve him of his responsibility as a senator to actually do something. The other part of what he said was, well, if he is to be punished, that's what we have elections for. I strongly disagree with that. We have elections so that we can elect the right person to represent the country in the executive branch. And we have senators and representatives to protect us in between those elections. So that's actually what Congress is for, the House and the Senate. They're there so that in between elections, if something goes wrong, they can adjudicate it. And that's what this was supposed to be, the adjudication process. That's why we have a bicameral Congress with a House and a Senate, so that it can be measured, investigated with more than just one step and with more than just one person saying, no, this is what I think and this is what it should be. And that's what the checks and balances is about. In this case, this was completely partisan. This was completely partisan. There was no impartial thinking. The most impartial thinking we got on this was on the Democratic side, and it's because the Democrats at least said, well, he did something wrong, and we need to investigate it, and they mounted an investigation, and the results of the investigation confirmed that he did something wrong. Everyone agreed. And then when it got to the Senate, which was all Republican, even the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, said before it even got to the Senate, we'll block it, and no matter what happens, we're just not going to vote for it. The other problem we have is that they didn't want to have any witnesses for the trial. So let's go back to law school for a moment. In law school, there's this thing called civil procedure where they teach you how the court system works, and they teach you they teach you all those mechanics of the legal system. And one of them is witnesses. Trials need witnesses. Yeah, there are some circumstances where you can do trial by judge as opposed to trial by jury. But even if you have trial by judge, there's still witnesses. So what I don't understand is people like Mitch McConnell, who is a lawyer, saying, we don't need witnesses. Every trial needs witnesses. Period. Every trial needs witnesses. So that, again, is something that's disturbing to me. But the other part of that is it wasn't really a trial. It was just a vote. And so they just did a vote. The vote ended up being, no, we're not going to impeach him. We're not going to remove him from office. And I want to go back to yet another senator. So Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska, he had a good quote as well, where he said, there are many of us in the Republican Party who agree with Senator Alexander, many, many of us. And so again, the consensus is, yes, he did something wrong. And again, we have to go back to the details of our Constitution, which say anything that needs to get adjudicated, any high crimes and misdemeanors, have to be dealt with internally. We're going to call it internally, which is you don't ask foreign governments to get involved in our politics. You don't ask foreign governments to get involved in the way we run our government. You don't ask them to do any of that. As a businessman when he was running Trump International. I'm sure he did plenty of things like that, asking for favors, trading favors. Yeah, you can do all of that when you're in private industry. You can't do that in the government. You can't do that if you're a government official. The rules are different. And so our senators have failed us because they didn't hold him to those rules. Um, and so, again, now let me say, I hope that when we get to the election, that the Democratic Party has the foresight to continue to talk about this impeachment process. That has to be the thing that they have to stick to. They have to just stand on that, as in, we impeach the president because of this. Lay out the facts and remind all the voters, listen, he did something wrong. Even the Republican senators agreed that he did something wrong. They just didn't agree he should be impeached. Here's why he should be impeached. And so if we know he did something wrong, wrongdoing is wrongdoing. And so if the Democrats don't stay hard and fast to the fact that he was impeached and why, he will win election again. He will win re-election. And I hope that the voters say to themselves, you know what, wrongdoing is wrongdoing, even if we support him and even if the economy's great, which, again, the economy is great because of everything that happened in the previous administration, and it is now kicking in. It didn't kick in until after President Trump became president, and so now it's better. But what will happen is, when President Trump is no longer President Trump, then we will see the effects of the policies he's putting in place now. But I digress. We have to remember that even if the economy is strong, he's not the right person to be leading the country because of his judgment. And if he's doing things and we're acknowledging they're wrong, those are judgment calls. That means he doesn't have the right judgment to lead the country in an ethical way. So the only thing is, he's impeached, period. He will always be impeached. History will repeat that he has been impeached and that he is president number 3 to be impeached. Nixon doesn't count because Nixon resigned before he could actually be impeached. So there's only Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and now Donald Trump, the 3 presidents that have actually been impeached in the House. And so that stands forever. I can only hope that between now and the end of this year, nothing else really bad happens, but President Trump has been on a little bit of a rampage and on the warpath ever since he was acquitted. And I'm going to leave you with this. When a president gets on national television and uses profanity, that's when everyone should say to themselves, that's enough, including the Christian right. The Christian right should be up in arms about that, period. So I'm going to leave you with that. Remember, we are still tweeting SGTATARMSUSA, and I will see you on the next installation of the Sergeant at Arms.